Hello there YouTube, it's your boy B3, back in another kicking graphic novel review. Today we're looking at The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3, Hobgoblin. Yes, I know that's not a very creative name. This is from the Zeb Wells, John Romita Jr. run, which a lot of people don't like, but so far it's not so bad. It starts off with the Hellfire Gala, and Mary Jane is there for some reason, and Peter is there, kind of as a joke. Wolverine invited him. And of course he's creeping on MJ because he's such a little creep. But Madeline Pryor shows up to wreck things, and there's a big recap. And I feel like maybe there's something that happened in an X-Men book, and it's being recapped in Spider-Man. But if it's a recap of something that didn't have a full story told on its own, that seems kind of lazy. Maybe it was a constraint because there was an event coming up. Actually, there were multiple events coming up. One that's within Spider-Man and one that's line-wide. But they fight Madeline Pryor, they shave MJ, it's whatever. And then, you know, Peter's a little creep. Whatever. Then we get to the Judgment Day stuff, which was a lot. I think it was like the Avengers, X-Men, Inhumans thing with the Celestial that's judging people to see which way the scales tip, to see if it will destroy humanity. And a lot of people have like someone from their past following them around, judging them. The person following Peter is, of course, Gwen Stacy. Aunt May has Uncle Ben following her, but who would judge Aunt May guilty, right? Like, of course she's going to pass. And you see Peter just going around to everyone in his life, telling him how much they mean to him, and etc. But he does eventually pass, and the Celestial gives him a moment with Gwen as a reward. And then we see that the person following Norman Osborn is also Gwen Stacy. It was a nice little issue, kind of heartwarming. Then we get back into the main story with Romita Jr.'s art and very square heads and a lot of lines. But we see Spider-Man properly ask out Black Cat, and I really like Spider-Man with Black Cat, which is good. Norman's working on a new spider suit, and he's been seen with Robert Kingsley, who we know as the OG Hobgoblin, who's known for brainwashing people into being hobgoblins for him. He's threatening Norman to get the businesses that Norman took from him back, and Norman is going to give them back. But then a hobgoblin shows up and beats the snot out of Norman and kills Kingsley's men. Who is this hobgoblin? We expect it to be Ned Leeds, who we just saw in the hobgoblin suit in his own home, which is probably a scene that we maybe shouldn't have been shown. We maybe shouldn't have been shown that before all this. But turns out Ned has been going into the Winkler device, but then Hobgoblin shows up. So Hobgoblin can't be Ned Leeds. But when Spider-Man unmasks him, it's Robert Kingsley. But how can it be Kingsley? He was just attacked by the Hobgoblin. Turns out Kingsley and Ned are both Hobgoblins, who both want to make Osborn pay. And Spider-Man's fighting them with his new tech from Oscorp. But it's not enough. They're kicking his ass. And Norman is kind of forced to put on this prototype spider suit, which would eventually be deemed the Gold Goblin. And it's not great, because committing violence could make him become evil again, and he doesn't want to do that. But then we find out that Kingsley is actually also being brainwashed and controlled by the Goblin Queen, whose main thing is to turn Norman back into the Green Goblin. Then we go back to Chasm, and this is set up for Dark Web. I already reviewed the Dark Web Omnibus, and I think I'm going to skip the Dark Web volume of Amazing Spider-Man, which is volume 4, because all of those issues are in the Omnibus. So why would I buy the volume? I have the Omnibus, I don't need the volume. But you can check out my review of the Dark Web Omnibus if you'd like. But we see Ben, who's now Chasm and not Spider-Man Beyond, and his little lady friend really commit to each other. But also, the debt collector keeps coming to Ben, thinking that he's Peter. He goes to Limbo, talks to the Goblin Queen, Madeline Pryor, and they're both clones that both want the memories that the person they're cloned from has. They become swell friends. Madeline Pryor creates sorry, sorry, creates All Hallows Eve, which is pretty cool. Janine becomes All Hallows Eve. It's like this Halloween person who has 3 masks. They give her different powers. It's actually really, really cool. And then Ben abducts the debt collector, and they steal his soul. And they assure you that he is an evil man, so you don't feel bad about it, and don't feel like Ben is irredeemable. I've mentioned before that I like Ben as an anti-hero. Not anti-hero, anti-villain. When he was the Jackal, that was super cool. The Scarlet Spider book right after that wasn't great, but during the Clone Conspiracy, when Ben Riley was Jackal, that was so cool. Such a cool anti-villain. I loved it. I was hoping Chasm would be a bit more like that, but it seems like he's just kind of gone full villain. At least according to Dark Web. But this book wasn't awful. A lot of it is just event tie-ins, though. There's a little bit of actual Spider-Man story, but there's like stuff about the X-Men, which if you aren't reading X-Men isn't super relevant. And then there's the Judgment Day stuff. A little bit of Spider-Man, just on its own. And then Dark Web. So most of this book is kind of about other titles, it feels like. Which is very odd, I have to say. Very, very odd. But that is it for The Amazing Spider-Man by Wells and Romita Jr., Volume 3, Hobgoblin, poorly named. It's alright. It's just alright. Nothing fancy. And I do hear it gets worse, so I guess I'd better buckle up. But that is it. Thank you all very much for your support. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out all the cool links in the description below, Facebook, Twitter, etc. I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.